This podcast is powered by, as always, entertainment. If you enjoy this content, consider becoming a patron over on patreon.com/as always. Other than to support this show for just $1 a month or more, you get access to over 50 exclusive episodes of the Kill Connor Clubhouse podcast that release every week the Kill Connor Club podcast isn't on. You also get a week's early access to the Spoilercast show, The Cinema Room, and plenty of cool perks such as being part of polls for future videos on our channels, as well as other early access material. With that said, please enjoy the podcast.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of the Spoilercast podcast, The Cinema Room. I am one of your hosts, Tyler, joined from now and, as always, by James.
As always, how's it going, my friend?
Yeah, I don't like this. So if you don't know, this is the Cinema Room. This is a new podcast, our third podcast that James and I are doing, and James usually always does the intros, and it's weird that I'm doing it. We need to figure something out different for this, so I'm going to keep doing the intros, and maybe we'll, instead of saying I'm joined as always by James, we'll do something different. But you know, this whole first episode is like a pilot episode. There's not really a planned structure for everything. It's going to be all over the place. But each episode of the Cinema Room podcast, we're going to be talking spoilers, breaking down, reviewing, discussing a movie, possibly as well TV shows, even video games in the future, but mostly movies. And today's first episode, we thought, let's start with the first film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That is Iron Man. So that is what we will be discussing and breaking down in this episode today. And then as well, at the end of the episode, we'll go through from our Patreon Sweet Vintage Lads, some of the questions and comments they have on the film, and just kind of go through those and have a bit of discussion on that. Again, not sure if that's going to be a permanent thing. We're just trying a few different things with the show, see what happens, and as we keep doing more episodes, it'll develop. So, yeah, I'm quite excited. How are you feeling about it all, James?
Pretty good. Pretty great.
Pretty great. And then we get to pretend when we do the relaunch of Kill Connor Club that this is the first time we've talked in ages, and you know, it's a big I love it. Anyway, Iron Man, James. That's the first film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It feels right that this is what we're doing for the first thing, because you know, when it comes to doing the spoiler cast that built towards this show through the Kill Connor Club podcast, we've done so many Marvel things. And when it comes to movies on the podcast, we really only talk about Marvel or Star Wars, really, don't we?
That's true.
So, and well, you only watch Marvel. I found that from our Kill Connor Club awards last year. You're like, well, the only TV shows I watch are Marvel TV shows, and the only movies I watch are Marvel movies. I'm like, reading off these shows and movies, and you're like, yeah, I didn't see any of those. I'm like, do you watch anything that's not Marvel?
Look,
is there anything else you watch?
My 2017 list was far more diverse. 2018, however, was there was a lot of Marvel in there.
You need to work on that, to be honest.
Yeah, we'll see. That's my New Year's resolution for 2019 is...
But this podcast is going to do it for you, man. I'm going to get you... We're going to be watching... People are going to... For $10 or more patrons, we're going to have polls for movies, and I'm hoping people give us things like, you know, The Godfather, The Goodfellas, some real classic films.
I hope people give us Hook, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I would actually love to do an episode on Hook.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great.
My God. Oh, but before we get any further, James, speaking of the Sweet Vintage Lads over on patreon.com/as always, this video, or this podcast, Jesus, it's been a while. It's been a hot minute since we've recorded a podcast. This podcast is brought to you by the beautiful Sweet Vintage Lads over on patreon.com/as always. So if you're not listening over on Patreon, where you get a week's early access to this podcast, and you're listening on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, or YouTube, then consider becoming a patron over on patreon.com/as always. So to thank a few of those sweet vintage lads, we have King Richard III, Ballsack47, Josh Devillier, Damian, Billy, the Team Tynamite Captain Robertson, Tman or Travis, Casey Wood, Tony the Arbiter's Tasty Penis, Adam Sundling, Alfie Rowsell, Lumistrad, Mario 5380, Viridian, ArunWyn. We have Brendan, or BQ Overlord, Ravjai, Julie, Prudhvi Muvva, Oscar, Benedict Parker Returns, Connor Durose Bully in the Alley, Gene, Son of a Bitch, Ogeaidogo, God Dammit Glenn, Furious Coco, the ACMJS, Jace the Last Medici, Delta R, Rodriguez, Kyle, S-Jaws, Kyle Marvel, Marcus Blackburn, Emil Katborg, Joshua Mora, David Bindus, Beau Daman, Lamp, God damn it, Yazen, Joe, the Sexy Boi Smith, HBarts12, I got Lumbago. Seth says lasers can suck my ass. The Real Jorrator, Brian Ford, Big Man Assassin, Andreu Martinez, and Pink Flame 313. This is a very different sort of ordered list.
That was weird. That was not.
It was
the right
very
order
weird.
At all.
It was very weird. Very weird to read that list. But we're doing something different, and the list comes in a different order, which is, we used to just read the list of whoever's a patron, but we're only going to be reading the list from now on, as once you get the rewards once payments come through. So the first of every month, your Patreon payment comes through. So once you sign up to patreon.com/AsAlways, you get to the $1 rewards. No matter what tier you're at, you get to listen to all the content and everything like that and be a part of all that. But when it comes to like other rewards, if you want to get merch, be on the podcast, a payment has to, go through for it to be, you're officially at that level sort of thing. Because before that, you haven't actually paid any money. So we're just going to have from each month before that's gone through, that's the list. And then the list won't change until the next month when payments go through. So that's just how it's going to work from now on. So we're just going to have to get used to it, James. It's a new year, new list.
Yeah.
So
okay. Well,
yeah.
I'll try my best.
Yeah, please.
As long as Pink Flame's at the end, I think I'll be okay.
Yeah, well, that's he. Yeah. He's at the top actually, but I just read him last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's gotten to the point where I'm sitting there thinking, should we say Brendan or BQ Overlord and Pink Flame 3 and 3? Like they both have to go last. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
it
is
do.
weird. Yeah, they kind of do. It's so funny.
I'm so used to it.
Yeah, I'm so used to it too. But it's a new year, bro. New podcast. It is a new podcast. Where we get to be nerds and just talk about one specific movie, TV show, or video game. And I just sat down and watched Iron Man right before we sat down to record this. And I wrote notes and I just, I got a degree in this, James. I got a degree in cinema studies, in film analysis.
Well, at least you can put it to use now.
I know. Finally, my mum can be proud of me. Put my degree to use. So it's brilliant. It's brilliant. First off, in general, this is what we tend to do with the spoiler cast. Just a general free thoughts. Mm-hmm. Iron Man overall as a film. How do you feel about it? Where does Iron Man stand with you as the first MCU film? 11 years later, it came in 2008. That's 11 years ago. Where does Iron Man... Where did it stand for you when you first saw it, and where does it stand for you now, I guess? Okay. What are your general thoughts?
Actually, to be honest, when I first saw it, I don't remember when the fuck that was. Because I didn't get into the MCU until really recently, and I think...
Yeah.
I don't remember if I saw Iron Man in the cinema or afterwards. I can't remember, but I remember really enjoying it. I remember it being one of the good superhero movies at the time. But I think it's almost better now. Maybe that's because I don't remember it, but I think it's one of those movies. It's one of the last sort of standalone superhero movies, because although it was the beginning of the MCU, it also is just its own contained thing as well that you don't see a lot of these days, because everyone's trying to do all these universes and stuff. So I think there's almost like a charm to that. The fact that it's sort of, the movie that kicked off the MCU is also sort of like the last movie that we really saw that was one of these sort of self-contained stories in the way that it was made. And I quite like that. I don't know, there's something about that specifically that I really like, on top of the movie just also being a really good time.
It's interesting you say that. I never really thought about it in the sense of it is really one of the last standalone superhero movies in recent times and since then. Like, you don't think about that, do you? Like, well, at least good ones, right? Like, there's Sony do their standalone bullshit movies.
Yeah, they do that.
But there's always a universe to it. Even with the X-Men movies, they're all, got universes surrounding them. DC try to do it. At the time, The Dark Knight came out the same year as Iron Man. And
true,
so The Dark Knight it had a universe in terms of its Batman, but it was its Batman story. There's no universe or bullshit around it. But yeah, it really is, isn't it? I didn't even think about it in that sense, but I do think about it as two different movies now. Mm-hmm. It's Iron Man, this really awesome, unique superhero movie that to me changed a lot in terms of the way superhero movies are done, but not even just done, but the way... It was a change in the way of what audiences wanted. It was trying to grab different audiences. And then I look at it as a second film, it's a part of the MCU, which is a whole different thing. Because it is... You can watch it and never watch another MCU movie, and it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It is a standalone movie. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. There's no pressure surrounding it. You get rid of the end credit scene, and if you never made another Iron Man on MCU, never happened. Iron Man is still a fucking amazing movie.
Yeah.
So that's something unique and special about it. But then as well, you look at it as the launching pad for everything afterwards. And my big thing is that I find very interesting, and they don't really do it with any of the other MCU movies, and they don't do it with even Tony Stark in the other, in the Avengers movies, anything else he's in. It was only in the 3 Iron Man movies, and especially this one, where it felt like they were trying to grab a different audience. And every time I watch it, I remember watching it for the first time. I did see it at cinemas, I'm pretty sure, or if not right when it came out on like DVD or whatever, and it was the cool superhero. You know what I mean? Like, It wasn't just like a corny, cheesy, he's a guy that shoots web from his hands, he's a guy with laser eyes, you know what I mean? Like, it's not a guy that wears a bat suit. This is a movie that, you can take your dad to, and he'll be like, this is fucking sweet. You've got AC/DC playing, you've got a dude that just whores around, parties, drinks, and he's super smart, and he wears a fucking tank armor suit. That, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Like, he's a cool guy, and the music's cool, the tone's cool, it's military, you've got the military involved, and it's all about weapons, and he's building and constructing and car collecting. Like, it is just a fucking cool movie trying to get guys to come to the cinema and watch it. You know what I mean? It's trying to get the adult male to go to the cinemas to watch Iron Man, the general mainstream person. And they did. Everyone, I remember everyone was talking about Iron Man. And when Iron Man 2 was coming out, everyone was talking about, oh my God, they're making another Iron Man. How good was the first one?
Yeah.
And it's something it's not really a focus of Tony Stark's character anymore because he's developed so much. And the audience they're going for is very different now with the Avengers movies than what they were going for with Iron Man 1. Completely different people they're trying to get. The Avengers Endgame audience is... the Marvel fans. They're the ongoing fans. They're the nerds. They're the kids. They're the... You know what I mean? Like, they're the general movie goer. Whereas Iron Man 1 was the superhero movie for guys. For adult men. That was like, fuck yeah. America, fuck yeah. Like freedom. And I find it so interesting. From the first opening shot, you've got Humvees driving through Afghanistan and Back in Black's playing. And you've got these soldiers in a Humvee, and he's just got a scotch on the rocks, and he's just kind of shaking it, and he's just talking mad shit to these soldiers about how cool he is. You know what I mean? And how he's fucked the 12 girls from like the Vanity Fair or whatever it is, like from that year, like all the cover girls. He's like, oh, is it true? What's the soldier? He's like, is it true you went 12 for 12 with on Maxim cover girls last year? He's like, well, it's yes and no. March and I had a scheduling conflict, but luckily December was twins. So, and then it's like, straight away from the first scene, it's like, okay, this is after a different audience, and it's the movie's trying to be cool, and the movie is cool. Yeah, and that's the difference.
Yeah. That's the thing as well with Iron Man. With the whole of the MCU, it's built on such a strong foundation as well, because you've got things like the DCEU that are trying to create universes from the get-go, whereas Iron Man was just trying to be Iron Man and trying to be a really strong film on its own. I think that's why the MCU is still going strong now, is because those first few movies, but especially Iron Man, was such a strong standalone movie on its own that they could then build off of it. And I think that still shows. That's why it's so great to just watch on its own.
Do you think... Well, at least for me, I find it interesting that looking back now and even just talking about it with you now, I really haven't thought about it this much, but the MCU has adapted and changed so much in the terms of the audience they're going for. Not even audience they're going for, the style they're going for, which can bring in different audiences. It keeps... Obviously, the hardcores, we're always going to be there. It doesn't matter what tone you go for, we're going to be watching the movie. But, like, you know, like I said, the general moviegoer that is going to go see Ant-Man and the Wasp is not the audience that Iron Man 1 was after.
Yeah,
if that makes
true.
sense. You know what I mean? They're not the Guardians of the Galaxy weren't trying to hook in the same audience that Iron Man 1's trying to hook in. You know, because Iron Man 2 goes the same thing. The trailer shoots a thrill AC/DC again. And the trailer scene I remember them always showing was when he dives in as Iron Man at the start of the movie. Fireworks are going off. They've got cheerleaders in the American flag outfits. He's wearing a nice suit and he just raises his hands. You got this audience fucking cheering the shit out of him. Like, that's what Iron Man is. And that's what the Iron Man trilogy is, especially more the first two than the third one. Third one is, you know, it was after the Avengers movie. It goes its own thing, but yeah, like I said, it's a different, but it's just credit to, not only has the MCU always been adapting and changing, they are masters at adapting and changing to what the audience wants, because what Iron Man did was make audiences want a character like Tony Stark. And Captain America 1 comes out, Thor comes out, people like Thor. Captain America 1 didn't go over as well, even though I think it has aged better than almost all the other Marvel movies have, because of what it really... Because it's, you know who Steve Rogers is, and it's really such an amazing movie, but it wasn't at that time, because of Iron Man, what audiences were looking for in a superhero movie. The cookie-cutter, clean, nice guy that Steve Rogers is. At the time, it wasn't as popular because I don't think people wanted that. Whereas now, Captain America's he's arguably more popular to fans than Iron Man is. To kids, especially. Because it's fucking Captain America and he has the best movies. Like, you know, in the long term, it's different. But everyone loves Tony and everyone loves Steve. You know, they're both the two main guys. But as the times changed, they made the movies they needed to make at the time. Then the comedy element started coming out, and Guardians of the Galaxy was... Sure, they were always funny because Tony was funny, but they got more comedy focused, and that was something Guardians did, and then that changed the way the Thor movies were done, but they do it the right way. They adapt it the right way. Look what they did with Homecoming. I think it's my favorite Spider-Man movie. It just is. Like, I think... And it's not that there's anything wrong with, like, let's say Spider-Man 1. I'm not... Everyone knows I'm not a fan of... what's his name that plays Spider-Man?
Tobey Maguire.
Tobey Maguire. I don't like Tobey Maguire. I like Spider-Man 1 and 2.
You don't like Tobey Maguire as a person.
But I don't like him as an actor. I don't like him as an actor.
At all.
I don't like Tobey Maguire in anything. I've never liked him in anything. Like,
I've never seen him
I do like him in something. It's the Brothers movie with Jake Gyllenhaal, where he's got like PTSD and he just is a fucking rage monster.
Oh yeah, I've seen clips from that movie.
Because that's who I see Tobey Maguire as a serial killer, creepy, scary dude that prowls at night and attacks people. Yeah.
I just see him as Spider-Man, but okay.
No, I don't. I think he's a creepy dude, and he looks every bit of 50 in Spider-Man 1. Hey man, you're not 16, all right? You are at least 32.
Better. Because he's older, and I like Spider-Man 2.
I like Spider-Man 1 and 2. Like the story's obviously good and they're well done. But the thing I love about Homecoming is that it doesn't try to do Spider-Man 1 again. You know what I mean? Whereas like the Amazing Spider-Man's trying to do Spider-Man 1 again, but be cooler and younger and hipper, and then it just fucking failed.
Peter Parker skateboarding.
Exactly. Whereas Homecoming to me is... It's still everything Spider-Man is in terms of like who Peter Parker is a character. It's an actual kid and not a 50-year-old, which is a great start. But also it doesn't then try to redo everything. It doesn't try to retell the same origin story I've seen a million times. It tries new things. It takes risks, but in a good way, and in the way that fits in the MCU and what audiences want at the time. It's what audiences and mainstream audiences want now. They want to laugh. They want to have a good time having a young Aunt May, the one. Like, it's what Iron Man did was a cause and effect to all of those things. It changed what audiences wanted from superhero movies. And then Marvel have used that and continued to adapt and not just adapt, but trend set. Because they'll put out Guardians, and they're like, well, audiences really like that. Let's see if we can use elements of Guardians in like the next Avengers movie or in Thor, and you see what happens. And you know, Iron Man's the catalyst for all of that.
That's true. I mean, I've loved the way that they've adapted over time since Iron Man, because even like when you look at Iron Man 1 and then you look at, say, like Avengers Infinity War, and you look at Tony Stark, it's the same character, but it's obviously vastly different. But I like the way that it's gradual, like the way they do it. They don't just, I mean, the only time they've ever really done it in the MCU was like with Thor. They go from him being how he was in you know, the older movies, and all of a sudden in Ragnarok he's totally different. But like other than that,
in the best way though. But
yeah, of course. But other than that, you know, it's always gradual, especially with Tony Stark. I think it's you know, he's definitely not the same as he was in Iron Man. But it makes sense, and I love all that stuff. And I think that, you know, like you couldn't have started the MCU with a movie that's like Guardians, or a movie like Thor Ragnarok, and all of these things that have like, you know, even Thor 1.
You couldn't have started with Thor 1 or Captain America. It had to be Iron Man.
And with Iron Man, it's so grounded, it's so real as well. Like, it's not, you know, like you said, it's not like your typical superhero. It's different, but it's also like the way Iron Man is. Like, he doesn't have superpowers. He's just really rich, and you know, he builds the suit.
He's Marvel's. He's our Batman, you know.
And so,
like I'm a part of Marvel. He's our Batman.
Yeah.
Well, we're on the team. We're on the Marvel team.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Iron Man 1 is very grounded, and then after that, everything they build upon it sort of builds up to building outwards and showing like the vastness of this universe. But it all sort of started with Iron Man, which is very close. I think it's very relatable in terms of like everything, because like I said, obviously there's no superpowers, so it's probably the most relatable of the bunch. And for sure. It works a really good starting point in that regard.
Well, like that's an interesting point as well. Speaking about what was built upon from Iron Man, is that what do we have in Marvel now? We have space. You know, we have different we have different dimensions, different, you know, bloody worlds. We have magic. We have, you know, plenty of superpowers. We have so much different technology. We have so much different science shit that's been added in. But what was started, and each movie, you know, like Ant-Man introduced the quantum realm and the science elements, and Doctor Strange introduced magic, and Guardians introduced the space element, and Thor introduced these different world elements, and, you know, Captain America was the first one. I was like, well, this is kind of, it's science-wise, but it's, you know, super strength, super power sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But they started it with just, this is just a guy that's really smart and can build shit. That's all it is. That's how they started, and that's the smartest way to do it. You don't overdo the universe. You don't saturate it with information or things. It's just like, no, this is just a dude. There's nothing to learn. You know, you don't need to be a fucking engineer to understand he's building a fucking iron suit, you know?
No.
He's got an electromagnet in his chest. You know, you don't need to learn that. You just watch and enjoy, and it is a movie that just kind of is cool. It's a the word I would use to describe Iron Man 1 is a cool movie.
Iron Man 1, a cool movie.
No, but it's like, I mean, like, it's cool.
It is cool.
It's for, you know, it's, like I said, it's for grown dudes that are into fucking sex, drugs, and fucking cars. You know what I mean? And big weapons and shit. Like, that's what it is. He's a dude. All he does is drink at the start, party, fuck bitches, and build shit that blows up. He's the fucking man. Like, you know what I mean? He's everything people want. Like, most guys want. No one would actually want that. But, like, you know, you pretend you kind of want to be like that for a minute. You're like, oh, man, I fucking wish I was that smart. Had that many cars and got bitches like that and had a house that big, you know. But then, like, yeah, but you wouldn't really. And, like, Tony Stark's the guy, like, you'd want to be friends with, but you'd only want to see him for, like, once a year. And you'd have a great time partying with him. But you never really want to hang out with him other than that. Because it'd be like, oh, what a draining person.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. But that's what I mean. And, like, you said Tony changes and he's so different in Endgame. And that's the thing. Like, he is that cool character at the start. But he does develop. Like, that's what Iron Man 1's about, his development. It's also what Iron Man 2's about. Again, he does the exact same fucking development. But anyway, that's another conversation for another day. But yeah, like, he starts off that way, and it sets you up nicely, and everyone's you're into it, and then he gets captured when he's doing weapons tests in Afghanistan, or weapons demonstrations. He gets their convoy gets attacked. He gets captured. He gets shrapnel in the chest, and I forget who's the dude that's in the cave with him. What's his fucking name?
I don't remember his name.
I'll have to look this up. So he gets shrapnel in the chest, and this guy who's in this cave with him, who is it is Ho Yinsen.
Yeah.
Ho Yinsen. I'll just call him Ho, which is fitting for Iron Man. So yeah, and the dude Ho, he's a scientist as well, an engineer as well.
Yeah. So
he builds this, like, using a car battery. He builds this electromagnet to keep the shrapnel from getting any deeper, because it's too much of a surgery, too dangerous to kill him to, like, take the shrapnel out. So he just builds the electromagnet in his chest. Tony then goes and builds this miniaturized arc reactor to function, so he doesn't have to carry around a fucking car battery with him his whole life. He can just have this reactor in his chest that does all the work for him, and that can then also power the suit. So it's from this, like, PTSD moment. He sees how his weapons are being used, because I mean, at the start, like, he's not just that cool guy that's into all that sort of shit. He's also a guy that's, talking shit, like, he loves to sell weapons to the military, loves to just blow shit up and profiteer from war, which is such a weird thing to think about now when we know who Tony is. Yeah. That is actually very strange to see, because that's not who Tony Stark is at all.
Yeah,
but that's what this movie's about, and that's what starts that development, and builds a lot. Tony is, in terms of an individual character, easily the best development in the MCU.
Yeah.
Like, as a changing character. But I don't think there's anyone that... I mean, to be fair, he's had the most amount of movies. He's been in, like, 9 movies.
Yeah, he's been in a lot.
4 Avengers movies, 3 Iron Man movies. He's in Civil War. He's a main character, and he's a main character in Spider-Man. That's 9 movies. Plus, he's in other things, isn't he? What else is he...
is he?
Or is that it? That's the 9 movies he's in.
He, like, shows up in post-credit scenes sometimes, but he's not, like, a main character in...
What post-credit scenes does he show up in?
There's some, I think. Hulk.
There's no Hulk movie in the MCU.
He's in the... Okay. Well, Tony Stark's in it, so...
Yeah, well, okay, let me establish this right now. If we do more MCU movies, which we obviously will be doing...
let's do
way
Hulk.
more MCU movies. We're never doing Hulk. And I'll tell you why. Because Hulk's not in the MCU, and I'm going to explain why. And your argument for it being in the MCU was Tony Stark's in it. There's more of an argument that Tony Stark is played by Robert Downey Jr. in 2 Marvel universes than that Hulk movie being a part of the MCU. Because it's not even the same Hulk or Banner.
Yeah, but Rhodey's played by a different guy in Iron Man 1.
Yeah. Okay.
Iron Man 2.
Are you comparing Rhodey to a main character?
Rhodey is a main character.
He's not the main. He's not the main character. Hulk is his own movie.
Still a main character,
and it's not even. And it's, first of all, it's not good. It's not relevant.
No, it's not good.
Doesn't
it's
do
really
anything.
bad.
And it's not in the MCU.
Look,
end of discussion. We're not having a more of a conversation about this. It's not in the MCU.
The events of the movie happened.
No, they didn't.
They did, because they referenced it in Avengers.
When?
It's when... when is it? It's Banner... Was it Tony says it to Banner or something? I don't know. They reference specifically events that happen in The Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, there's a universe that exists where Hulk was around, obviously, in the MCU. So they're referencing events that happened to him. We just didn't see it.
Yeah, okay. Fine. I don't care enough about Hulk.
My headcanon does not include the Incredible Hulk. Like, I've collected and bought all the MCU movies on Blu-ray recently, and I didn't buy Incredible Hulk, and I posted a picture. Someone was like, "You're missing Hulk." I'm like, "No, I'm not." No, I'm absolutely not missing.
Yeah, look, it's not a good movie. It's really not a good movie. I watched it for the first time in the lead up to Infinity War, and it was a horrible experience.
Yeah, if all you had to have, like, what's his name, buddy, Mark Ruffalo played Hulk in it and Banner, it counts. But it doesn't. It doesn't count. It simply doesn't count. Also, doesn't make sense that Tony shows up in the post-credit scene and says, "Have you heard about the Avengers Initiative?" It's like, well, he's not even in the Avengers Initiative.
Yeah, but when does
he was passed over. He doesn't. So he's not working for Shield. Why was he working for Shield?
Yeah, and also why is he talking
makes sense.
to
That's
that
why that's a
general
different Marvel.
guy?
It's also a different Marvel universe. That's all.
Oh, that guy's in Civil War though.
Yep, I know that. They're both in a different. That's a whole different alternate Marvel universe.
Look, it's not a different universe, but
it is.
You can hate count it. No, it's not.
Yeah, that's in my head. It's a different Marvel universe, and it makes more sense that way, actually. So,
yeah. Well, in your head, Regenerate Memories is bad, but we know that's not true.
Dude, Regenerate Memories isn't bad. It's just unnecessary.
It's great.
It's not good. It's not bad, but it's also not good. And we're not talking about Kingdom Hearts on this Iron Man Cinema Room podcast.
Well, we've talked more about the overall MCU than we have Iron Man. So what?
To be fair, Iron Man is the first movie of the MCU. That's what it's going to be. That's what this is going to be. And we're going to be jumping around. This will happen for anything we talk about that's a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Is like how it impacts the whole thing.
That's very true.
That's what this is about. That's what this is about. Admiring Iron Man and how good it is.
It is very good.
And what it did.
Okay, what is that? What is that rattling sound?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's my bad.
Okay, yeah.
It's the fucking pop filter keeps knocking against the mic when I move my mic. That's what it is. Yeah, that's my. I apologize. I've moved it away, so I shouldn't touch it now.
Great.
Yeah. So after Tony escapes, he builds the iron suit. He gets the fuck out of Afghanistan. He gets rescued. And then he calls off the development of weapons for Stark Industries. And all of a sudden we have this development of this nice guy. And I feel like one of the most interesting parts of Iron Man is you don't see... Sure, there's like the initial first iron suit he builds, like when he's in the cave and he does the test flight in like the silver suit or whatever. But he is an Iron Man in the iron suit with the paint on it, doing a mission until the mid-second half of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they really make you wait. And the reason that is you couldn't get away with that in another superhero movie, I don't think. You can't not have Batman until, like, the third act of the movie. That's ridiculous. Or the end of the second act of the movie. You can't have Batman show up then, you know what I mean? You've got to have him by the end of the first act. You have to see Batman in the suit.
No.
By the end of the first act, you've got to see, Captain America doing something. You've got to. But you can get away with this because, like we've been saying, this isn't a normal superhero movie. This is just a dude. This is just an awesome, genius dude that builds weapons and builds this weapon tank run flight suit.
Mm. Yeah, that's true.
So
like
it's
it's
a bit different.
It's well, I mean, I think all three of the movies, but Iron Man 1, it's less about the superhero. It's more about Tony himself. Like the main story really is his development across the movie. So that's probably why they can do that.
It's also the reason. That's a great point. Is that it is more about Tony, but there's no separation. It's Batman, Bruce Wayne are two completely different people.
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man, Peter Parker, in a lot of ways are different. That's why there's secret. That's why it's a secret. That's why it's a alter ego, because you can't be the same. That's not the case with Iron Man. There's no secret. He literally announces he's Iron Man at the end of the movie when everyone's like, what the fuck is that suit? What's going on?
Mm.
He announces, I am the Iron Man. Because Tony Stark is Iron Man and Iron Man is Tony Stark. There's no separation. So it doesn't matter as much as well that the suit's not introduced to the end, because other than it just being an awesome, cool moment that you don't want to overuse and oversaturate in the initial movie, it's not a different character. It's not this different moment. It's still, you're watching the same character from start to finish, whether he's in the suit or out of the suit.
Yeah,
and that's
true.
also very different to other superhero movies. Like I said, Batman. And in a lot of ways, Iron Man is Marvel's Batman. The rich guy doesn't have superpowers, but just, has skills and has a suit and then does shit. But Tony's very, very different to Bruce. Bruce is a lot more complicated in different ways, whereas Tony is a narcissist. You know what I mean? Like, he is the like he says in the first Avengers movie, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist. That's who he is. Whereas, Bruce Wayne is pretending to be that, whereas he's actually Batman. But that's what's different about Tony, and that's what people kind of like about Tony. And that's why, like, the way I'd see it is like, if a father-son let's say a 10-year-old kid and their dad go see Avengers. The kid's there to see Captain America save the day. The dad's there to watch Iron Man fuck shit up. That's kind of what it is. And that's who Tony Stark is as a character. He is for
dads.
The dads. He's for the dads. He's for the dads.
Iron Man is for the dads.
He's for the dads. Iron Man is for the dads.
There you go. Well, thanks for watching our spoiler cast. That's it. We've done it.
Iron Man is for the dads. What do you think of, just speaking of, actually, before we get any further, while we're talking about this, like, development of Tony, there's a line that is said by Ho in the cave, and I had to write it down. And I never really, I always hear it, but I never really paid that close attention to it. He was asking about his family, and, Tony pretty much goes, no, I don't have anyone. And Ho goes, so you're a man who has everything and nothing. I'm like, that's such a fucking good line. And that's everything to explain Tony and how and why he changes. Because he's a man who has everything and has nothing. And that's the interesting part about him. Like, he's the person we all look at and you're like, he's cool. You'd want to be that guy. But also, he doesn't actually have anything. He doesn't have a family, doesn't have love. He just has Pepper, and all. That's why he gets close to Pepper, because she's all in. He says that when he gets back and she's like changing over his the miniature arc reactor in his chest, she's like, "Don't ask me to do this again." He says, "You're all I've got."
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And that's a big part of his development, and reason he gets closer to Pepper is because he realized, he's a man that has everything and has nothing, but he actually did. He just didn't, you know what I mean? Like, it was right in front of him the whole time, sort of thing. And he has Happy and he has Rhodey and stuff, but he takes advantage of everyone around him. He doesn't really put in the effort, and then he does, afterwards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point.
But like you did say earlier, it's Terrence Howard plays Rhodey in Iron Man 1. And you said, that he was recast after that, and I much prefer. Well, I don't know if I much prefer, but what do you think of Terrence Howard's performance as Rhodey in this movie? And what do you think, I guess, of the fact that he was recast and the changes? And do you prefer Terrence Howard?
I mean, he's fine. Like, I think the thing is as well, like, we've had so many movies with
Don Cheadle.
Yeah. Whereas we only got this Rhodey in Iron Man 1. So who knows?
Yeah,
if he'd have stuck around, could have been better, could have been just as good. We don't know. I don't think he's bad though. I'm just like, I like this guy, but also because I'm so attached to Rhodey as a character in like the larger MCU that we know about. It's kind of like, who is this guy and why is he here? Are you really attached
to War Machine that much, to Rhodey?
I mean, not as much as like Captain America or Iron Man or Spider-Man or whatever, but I like him. Sure. I like him as a character. I'm like, I like this guy. So seeing him played by someone else is like, it's just this weird disconnect. The disconnect's further Iron Man from the rest of the MCU, to be honest, because there is that strange disconnect from Iron Man 1 to the rest of it. Sometimes in a good way, but there is that sort of, it feels like a different it almost feels like a different universe sometimes.
Well, that's the thing about it being the first movie and how much because it changes so much, the universe. It really, when you look back at it, the style of movies, but that's kind of what's beautiful about it. God, that's the gayest thing I've ever said.
Okay. That's kind of what's beautiful about it. Iron Man's cool and for the dads.
Iron Man's cool and for the dads. For the lads.
It is.
The interesting thing, I much prefer Don Cheadle And I'll explain why. And even just like, from Iron Man 1 and 2, I prefer Don Cheadle. The way Rhodey's played by Terrence Howard, I'm just going to call him Terrence because, we're on first name basis, he is a bit, for me, like I guess it does make sense in the first Iron Man because he's quite relatable to Tony. Sure, he's a guy in the military in the uniform, but he is a bit of a jokester, and they have their own sort of shit talking, and they clearly have a good like connection and stuff. But Don Cheadle's portrayal of Rhodey is a far more strong-willed individual, a far more grounded individual that can really help ground Tony in certain situations. And I think I find he's a far more charismatic and strong person, especially in his first scene in Iron Man 2. It's, walking in front of like the court or wherever the fuck they are, in front of the I don't even know what that's called, wherever they were.
Yeah, it's just like
but it's just a stronger, to me, more strong-willed sort of portrayal of the character War Machine, whereas Terrence Howard's is more of a bit of a, he's just a friend. Oh, you know what I mean? Like he's just the side character. He's just, for a laugh or whatever. He's not that consequential to Tony's development as a character. Whereas I feel like the way they do Rhodey in Iron Man 2 and beyond is a bit more to the way Tony changes and makes sense that way. That's just how I feel about it, though. But Terrence Howard's also a crazy person who thinks 1 + 1 or 2 times 2. I don't know, what's his thing? He has Terrence math. He has his own like. Yeah, hang on.
Oh, Jesus Christ! I don't know what this is.
Have you never heard about this?
No.
So he thinks that he has his own version. Teriology is his own version of mathematics. Because he doesn't think maths is right. And what it actually is he doesn't know maths, and he's a fucking idiot. So if you believe the rules of basic arithmetic, Terrence Howard pities you. I'll just read the article. So his thing is, he's like, 1 times 1 is 1. Correct?
What? Yeah.
Yeah, 1 times 1 is 1. We all know that. 1. How many have you got if you've got 1? If you've got 1 ones, you've got 1.
1.
No, it's 2 to Terrence Howard.
What does that mean?
Because he's good. Because like, but if you got 1 and then you times it by 1, you have 2 different ones. Therefore, it's 2.
Oh, like, well, that doesn't make sense.
No, yeah, I know that because I'm like, no, I get that. If the sign between the ones was an addition sign, that's what addition. You're then adding them together. Multiplying them is not. You're not multiplying 2 different numbers. A multiplication is representing how many of an individual number you have. Your number you have is 1, and you're multiplying it by how many you've got. Like, so if you've got 8 times 8 or 7 times 8. What that represents is you've got 8 of whatever, fucking 8 apples, and you're timesing it by 7. So you've got 7 bags of 8 apples in the bag. That's what you're doing.
Teaching us all maths.
But that's what I'm fucking. He's like, how many fucking apples do you have?
This
but
would
if
only
you have
be
1
useful
bag,
if Terrence Howard listens to this podcast. No one else needs this.
No, I just need this for my own sanity. I just need this for my own fucking sanity. But if you got 1 bag with 1 apple, how many apples do you have? You still have fucking 1. Because it's 1.
Yeah, what does he think
You're confusing
2 is then? Does he think that's 2 still?
He thinks it's, thinks it's 4. He thinks it's 4, which it is. Because
Why,
2
though?
plus 2 is 4.
But
Because he
what's the
doesn't know what...
rule?
Because Terrence Howard doesn't know the difference between addition and multiplication because he's a fucking idiot. That's the reason.
What a fucking idiot.
Yeah, his version of maths, he says, quote, is the true universal math. In an enlightened new Rolling Stones profile, as the Empire Star puts it, if Pythagoras was here to see it, he would lose his mind. Einstein too. Tesla.
Can't be
quote.
real.
Quote
This can't be real.
This is a quote. Quote, if Pythagoras was here to see it, he would lose his mind. Einstein too. Tesla, end quote. It's called Teriology. I fucking am so happy he's not in the MCU anymore.
Oh, what
he's
an
a
idiot.
crazy
Oh my
person.
God. What the fuck?
And his thing is like, his whole argument is the whole 1 times 1 thing. His quote is, how can it equal 1? End quote. That's his biggest. He's like, yeah.
Has no one tried to explain this to him?
I'm sure people have, but he doesn't get it because he's stupid.
How
That's
can you
the
be
thing.
that stupid though?
If 1 times 1 equals... Hang on, let me read this. If 1 times 1 equals 1, that means that 2 is of no value because 1 times itself has no effect. 1 times 1 equals 2 because the square root of 4 is 2. What? So what's the square root of 2? Should be 1. But we're told it's 2. And that cannot be. No, it can be, you fucking idiot. Because you're confusing, again, addition with multiplication. And also, his only examples of this are using the small numbers that have made it work. Because he's like, well, 1 times 1 has to be 2, because 1 plus 1 is 2. And 2 times 2 is 4. That makes sense. 2 plus 2 is 4. Yeah, that's what he's connected. He's connected 2 plus 2 is 4 and 2 times 2 is also 4. Therefore, he's now, from that one mathematic problem, he has now confused for his whole brain what addition and multiplication is. He thinks it's the same thing. That's what's happened here. And now he's got teriology.
This is mental.
And he thinks Pythagoras would be blown away.
Can we get him on the podcast?
He thinks Cassandra's dad would be blown away. Spoilers, by the way. Oh, that's God. Fucking funny. There's nothing worse than being a broke movie. Okay, something else. I was just reading more quotes, but yeah.
Oh, God. What a mad
Oh, this is so funny. This is the last century that our children will ever have been taught that 1 times 1 is 1. He told Rolling Stones. They won't have to grow up in ignorance. 20 years from now, they'll know 1 times 1 equals 2. We're about to show a new truth, the true universal math, and the proof is in these pieces. I've created the pieces that make up the motion of the universe together. Fuck, that's funny.
How is he a real person? What the fuck is he talking about?
Yeah, he's a moron. He's a delusional moron, and I'm glad he got fucking fired. Fucking idiot.
Oh, God. God, that's mental.
That's so funny. That is so funny.
Yeah. God, I don't know. Yeah, I don't like him at all as Rhodey now. I'm like, it's weird. What a weird bloke.
So if any of you ever thought to yourself, just anyone listening here would like, man, I much preferred Terrence Howard as Rhodey. I wish he was still in it. Now you don't, so you're welcome for that. You're welcome. Now you'll forever love Don Cheadle and respect him a bit more if you didn't already.
Yeah, he knows multiplication, so... I assume he does. I mean, we don't know.
That's the funniest thing ever, eh? Oh, that's so funny. Oh, I gotta hang on 1 sec. Oh no, I closed it. That quote about Pythagoras, I fucking can't believe that.
Pythagoras would lose his
Einstein
mind.
too. Pythagoras would lose his mind. Einstein too.
Oh, what a fucking lunatic.
That's so fucking funny. That's so funny. Oh my god, that's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Jesus. Okay. Fucking where were we? Iron Man.
Yeah, Iron Man. Terrence Howard. How do you feel? Oh, this is a great question. Okay. And this is something I've been thinking about. How do you feel in terms of the overall MCU about the Pepper Tony relationship? And you know, the Marvel movies always have, especially in the initial first movie for one of our heroes. Captain America, Thor, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, any of these movies. There's always, the love interest.
Hulk, yeah.
No. Anyway, where do you sit with Pepper and Tony? Where do you, it's the first one. how do you feel about that relationship and how it's impacted and developed and grown from this movie onwards?
I love Pepper and Tony. I think they're great. I love both their characters individually. I think they work well together, and the progression over the course of the movies has been really great. And I think you can see that in when Pepper showed up in Homecoming for that brief moment. Everyone was really hyped about that, and she's only in it for like a moment. She doesn't do much, but everyone loved it because they're like, yeah, because people love Pepper and Tony. I think they've done really well, and I think the foundation was laid out really well in the writing of Iron Man.
Yeah, absolutely. In the way, Pepper's first scene is when gives the dry cleaning to that journalist who slept with Tony the night before, and she's like, "Oh, you're still doing Tony's laundry?" He goes, "I do it," and she says, "I do everything Mr. Stark requires, including occasionally taking out the trash." And it's like, fucking boom, like
she's great.
It's fucking she's a great character. She has a great like first scene introduction, and you've got. And Happy's there, in the movie as well. He's not in it that much, but Jon Favreau, who plays Happy, is the director of Iron Man 1. And he did like a killer job.
He definitely did.
Now, and I do think that Pepper and Tony are probably that, but their relationship is also the relationship. Like, what's the Avengers? Look at Avengers Endgame's trailer. What's the scene about? It's about Tony and Pepper still like the forefront relationship of the whole MCU. Their relationship is the foundation relationship.
That's true. It's really not another one.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you look at like Peter Quill and Gamora, but like it's not been going on for as long. Still a big one, and it's still done very well.
But it's not the forefront of the whole MCU, and it's not that foundational. But also, not as much in the other movies because Pepper's has a lot of a role in Iron Man 2 and 3. And she has a lot of role, obviously, in the first one, but I just mean her role almost in the first one is to be that person who helps Tony. His development through being the love interest. And she does a lot more, but she's always Tony's, like, true north, right? Like, that keeps him centered. And it's even interesting that when the whole contract dispute was happening and people didn't think Gwyneth Paltrow was coming back to play Pepper, she wasn't in Civil War. But that also made so much sense to why Tony was the way he was in Civil War, because he didn't have Pepper. It actually worked out really well in that way. Why was Tony so he's very broken. From the first scene of when he's giving the lecture and someone forgot to change the slides because he was going to introduce Pepper to the stage, and then he gets off stage and, was upset, and then this woman comes at him with the Sokovia kid that died, and then, all of a sudden he wants to sign these accords, and you know what I mean? Like... Her not being around has that negative effect on his darkest moment in Civil War. And then, when she's back, he kind of grows back and, they're, in the current state of the MCU, they're engaged and, he's thinking about the whole kids thing, but that's also a part of his development as being a mentor to someone like Peter Parker. Like what Tony's developed in, is so much because of Pepper. So I think in that way, there's no character that's developed as much, and the biggest reason for that to me is Pepper. So I don't think there's any stronger relationship, character-wise, story-wise, than there is in the MCU than Pepper and Tony.
Yeah, I agree.
My favorite, it's my favorite one for sure. I'll always stand by, and when we do Captain America, the first Avenger episode. Down the road, I will defend to the end that movie's amazing, and the second best relationship to me in the MCU is Steve and Peggy, but it's also because it's different and tragic and nothing. You know what I mean? Like it never happened is also why it's so great.
Yeah, that's one I really really like. But obviously, it's not like a basis of the entire MCU because character development for Tony.
Because Steve doesn't have the same sort of development as Tony. Tony changes as a fundamental human being, whereas Steve doesn't change as a person. He's always a good person, and that's important. It's actually important that Steve doesn't change, because that's the whole point of his character. That's why he was chosen to be Captain America, because of who he was, his heart, and he was told, never lose this, never change. He just developed what Steve's development is, how he sees the world. That's how he changes. That is his character development. He's not meant to change as a person, whereas Tony is. Like, that's what that's the fundamental difference between the two, and it's also the fundamental difference on why they're both so important as balancing characters as the two main characters of the MCU as well. But that's, again, probably another conversation for another day. What the fuck is Jeff Bridges, who plays bloody Jebediah? That's his name. Our villain in Iron Man 1. Where do you kind of sit the sort of third act, I guess, when Jebediah is, he revealed, which you kind of know, and it builds towards it. Jebediah's the behind it all. Tony being attacked in Afghanistan, being captured, selling weapons to the Taliban. In Afghanistan, and the reason Tony changes and sees the world so differently is because of the under the table corruption that Jebediah's been doing. And Jebediah is a representation of these warmongers and war profiteers, and Tony's the he sees the light and he sees the truth, and he has his red pill moment, and they're now opposites.
I think
where do you sit with him?
I liked him as a villain, sort of as like the opposite of Tony, and realizing that he's sort of been doing his own thing against Tony and everything. But what I don't like is him in a big metal Iron Man suit. That's one thing I really don't like. I like his character. I just don't like him in a big grey Iron Man suit. I don't think it's fun to look at, and I think it's silly. But other than that,
you're probably right. Yeah, that was the only corny bit of the whole movie. It's for a superhero movie that's so fundamentally not like other superhero movies. Its ending was such a cheesy superhero ending in terms of the battle. Like, you've got the Iron Man suit, and then he's got to beat a bigger Iron Man suit, like, against some dude who has no reason he should know how to pilot that thing at all. But
it was very strange. But I mean, other than that, it was. I mean,
because Jebediah is not the scientist. He's not the one that develops anything. He's a businessman. That's who Jebediah is. Tony's the one that knows how to build shit.
I can't take it seriously, to be honest.
Did you not like the battle at all?
Is cool. Like, it's cool to watch, but when you really think about the context of it, like Tony being in his suit is pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, what's his villain name? Ironmonger. Yeah, it's silly.
Yes.
Bit silly that, to be honest.
I didn't know that was really. Yeah.
Yeah, he says it, doesn't he? He says it when he's in the suit. He has like a really deep voice for some reason. He's like, "Oh, Ironmonger," and then you're like, okay, not like that, but you know what I mean. And then,
well, he's a warmonger. Yeah, Ironmonger. I guess it makes sense.
Oh, it's silly. Oh no, Siri, no. It just listened to everything I fucking said and tried to search on Google.
Oh god. Who has Siri on?
What?
Who Siri's turned off on my phone and always has been. Who has Siri on?
I don't know, to be honest, because I don't use it. I probably should turn it off.
Yeah.
You know what I'll do right now?
So just a shitter version of Alexa. I used Alexa for the first time yesterday. It's fucking awesome. Anyway, not about Iron Man. I was just thinking about Jarvis, and I was just like, because I was actually watching it because I'd used Alexa yesterday for the first time. I'd seen one at work, and it works so well. Like, you can say shit. We were purposely trying to fuck with it, and like say things that like weren't properly, but it knew what you meant to say, and I'm like, fuck, Siri can't even. You say it exactly right as clear as you can. Siri doesn't know what the fuck you're talking about. But then you're watching Iron Man, and you've got Jarvis that works so well, and I'm like, man, they really knew what was happening. One day we'll have Jarvis. I just want to have the voice be Jarvis. That's what, and then I'll have it installed in my house.
That'd be great. Oh, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, and I love the. I do love the. Other than Marvel do their few like recasts, obviously with Rhodey, being a big one, probably the biggest one other than Hulk. Those are the two biggest. They kept the same voice for Jarvis from Iron Man 1 all the way to now, and then he got that actor to play Vision and everything. Like, I do like that. That's something small detail. They could have easily kind of moved on. It wouldn't have been a big deal because it's just a voice early on, but they really stuck with it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's good.
And then I guess Iron Man wraps up in a nice bow. He gets the girl. But then nothing really happens. They never have that moment. They still leave Tony and Pepper kind of. It's not a thing yet, but it's kind of going that way. But you have the famous ending where they call the press conference of the between the battle that happened between Iron Man and Ironmonger, between Tony and Jebediah. And they want to know, and they're saying that no, it's just a suit. Shield gives the story to this, Coulson's in it, which is great.
Oh, I love Coulson.
He gives the. There's something I'm going to bring up after we talk about this, actually, but
okay.
To do with Shield, but we'll just get through the ending of Iron Man first, where Coulson gives Pepper and Tony their story that he was on a trip and that this suit is just a robot. And then he gets up on stage and they're like, do you really expect us? He starts to read the script and do you really expect us to believe that? And he just goes, the truth is, I am Iron Man. And then everyone goes, boo, the crowd goes wild. Like the reporters all start asking him questions. Credits roll. Fucking perfect ending.
Yeah, it's a great scene.
Like, where do you put that ending, I guess, but also what that meant then for the rest of the MCU? Because one of my favorite lines from Civil War is when Vision talks about how it was the moment that Tony revealed himself as Iron Man that the number of enhanced persons is the words he used. Enhanced persons has increased exponentially. As enhanced people have kind of come out and been revealed to the world because of what Tony did. So that ending is not only perfect as its own wrap up to Iron Man, it's also the best ending to develop a universe from that scene. Not even from anything else. You didn't have to do other things to develop this universe. You just had to do that, which was a catalyst that's like, holy shit, there's no secrets about superheroes. You know what I mean? It's not a secret. This is bang, here we go. And now there's room for all these enhanced persons to kind of come forward. Because, it's not some person that's shamed by the public. It's everyone. It's a famous guy that everyone loves in the media. That has a fucking iron suit, and that's cool. And it's not like a shameful thing, like to be that hero, or it's not dangerous or whatever, which is interesting.
Yeah, I like that. I like that whole ending scene. I think it's great. I think sometimes it can get a bit tedious in superhero movies when you've got the whole, I've got to, protect that nobody knows who I am and everything. I think that with the Avengers, that's so different because everyone knows Captain America is Steve Rogers, everyone knows Iron Man's Tony Stark, and everyone knows Thor is Thor.
Yes, yeah.
And I don't know about Hulk. Does everyone know he's Banner?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. It's pretty common knowledge. But I don't think it's publicly in terms of like, I think the whole Hulk thing is quite under wraps secret in like of what Hulk is anyway. Like, I don't think anyone knows who Bruce Banner is. So I think it's just Hulk's Hulk.
Nobody knows who Bruce Banner is.
I mean like in a public
Nobody
sense.
knows.
In Marvel Universe, a kid would know that Iron Man is, that's Tony Stark. Whereas but people already knew who Tony Stark was. Like
People
no one
know
knows
who Bruce Banner is though. He's a famous scientist.
He's not that famous, is he?
Yeah, he is.
Nah.
Yeah, he is. There's a picture of him in Homecoming in Peter's classroom, next to Einstein and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, then I guess everyone would know he's Hulk then, right?
Do they know he's Hulk though?
Yeah, they do. Surely.
I swear they don't. Or maybe they do now.
Yeah, they do now.
Like after Avengers, when he's standing there, very clearly Bruce Banner, and then turns into Hulk.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think it's common knowledge. Yeah, but there's characters you need to have that. Like it has to. The whole part of their story is it's a secret identity. Like Spider-Man, you can't have everyone know Spider-Man's Peter Parker. That would ruin Spider-Man.
That would be
like
really
that
silly,
would. You can't have everyone know Bruce Wayne's Batman. That would ruin Batman. Like there are superheroes that you kind of need.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why it was good though, because it's different. I think with Iron Man, like in the they made everything different, including that, and I think that works well. It'd be really strange if Tony continued to pretend he wasn't Iron Man. It would just be really odd.
And that also then makes a disconnect between Iron Man and Tony, like they're different people, whereas like that's not really how Iron Man is Tony Stark. As I said earlier, Tony Stark is Iron Man. They are one character. That's why you can get away with Iron Man not showing up until the second half of the movie, because it doesn't matter, because it's the same person, same character, whether he's in the suit or not. It's not like it's not a separation thing. That's why, in The Dark Knight Rises, people are frustrated that Batman's barely in it. Whereas, like, it's more a Bruce Wayne movie than a Batman movie. And it's like, well, no one would say that about Iron Man because it doesn't matter,
Yeah, I mean, in The Dark Knight Rises,
Tony
Bruce
Stark,
does spend a long time in a pit.
He does, that's true. Yeah,
it's good. Some great moments, but,
Yeah.
He does do that.
But you can't. No one's ever gonna say there was too much Tony Stark in Iron Man. You know what I mean? No one's ever gonna say that.
It was more a Tony Stark movie than an Iron Man movie.
Yeah.
People do say that about Iron Man 3. But I like Iron Man 3.
People are fucking Iron Man dumb. 2. I think it's better than Iron Man 2 in the sense it's not it's similar sort of development, but Iron Man's just like the exact same story as Iron Man 1.
It is. It's like they go back to sort of like
He's all of a sudden he's a piece of shit again, and it's like I'm like, what the fuck happened? I thought we went through this already.
Yeah, he's not selling weapons to the military, but he's
but he's running a fucking parade for himself with like a crowd that he flies into an audience in the suit and shit, and he's showing off that he's Iron Man. But I guess in some ways it makes sense because now that he's revealed to be Iron Man, he's let it go to his head a little bit, and he's kind of developed backwards again. But then that's not that intending to watch the same development again. Even though it makes kind of sense of why it would happen, you could explain it. Doesn't make it good, necessarily.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a bit of whatever. We get War Machine introduced, which is cool. Iron Man 2 has its moments. None of the Iron Man movies are bad, but they're just like 2 and 3 aren't for every day. Whereas I could watch Iron Man 1 every goddamn day.
I mean, at least no MCU movie is really like The Incredible Hulk, to be honest.
Well, that's why it's not a part of the MCU.
Yeah. None of them are quite that bad. I mean, the closest you get is really like maybe like Thor. Like that's probably about it.
Thor's good. I don't know why you don't like Thor 1.
Yeah, I mean it's not. That's the end of my sentence. Actually, no. It's
other than the Dark World.
I think the Dark World's better than Thor.
The only reason it's better is because it's kind of Loki's fucking movie.
And Thor doesn't look weird either.
He does look weird, doesn't he, in the first movie?
He does. They dyed his eyebrows.
But there's some great scenes in Thor 1, man. We'll talk now. We'll do that when we do Thor.
Yeah,
they're not going to get fucking
there's some good scenes, which we'll talk about later. So stay tuned. Not later today, but later in time. So stay tuned.
Later in time.
To Cinema Room.
So let's go to what the community has to say about Iron Man. Their thoughts, comments, questions on our Cinema Room thread over on patreon.com.
Billy left about 4 comments.
4 comments. So that's made up for the 6 comments. So the first one's from King Richard III, which is, this may be a silly question. Maybe, we'll see. But do you think you would have liked this film or would have had the same impact if it were a standalone or was set in the 60s? That is a bit random. Very legit. Things great question to start with, and then you kind of ruin the question at the end with that one. Well, I mean, we did talk about it, didn't we? We talked about that it's great.
Yeah.
It's 2 movies. It's Iron Man that is a standalone movie, and it's Iron Man, the first movie in the MCU. Both are amazing.
Yeah.
I think we talked about that already. But set in the 60s, what would it be set in the 60s? Like,
Why?
what would the suit would be shit.
What's the point? Like, I don't understand. Why?
Vietnam, he goes in and fucking...
Why though? What's the relevance?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is there something I'm missing where, like... Is it because Iron Man was originally set in the 60s? Is that what he's saying? Or...
I don't know, man. Is that when he was... Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just... coming up with ideas here. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, that's a weird question. And no, I wouldn't like it if it was set in the 60s.
You wouldn't like it at all?
Yeah.
If it was set in the 60s?
Billy responded saying, I don't think the 60s decade would change anything, really. It would still be the same movie. No, it wouldn't. How the fuck would it be the same movie? Like, in what universe would an iron suit work in the 1960s. And where's, like, how would he make the suit? Why would he make the suit? Where was he captured?
Russia.
Fucking stupid. By the Russians, fucking
Yeah,
dumb.
he's captured by the Russians.
I mean,
Russia
okay, so
shooting missiles
it
at
would be
them.
like a Cold War movie then.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be that bad, actually. That actually sounds
fine,
better.
but also you
Cold
couldn't
War will be
use
fine.
any of the music that they use in Iron Man because it's the 60s. You have to use exclusively 60s music. Like if it's set in 1963.
And he couldn't have the private
music from
jet with the
63.
stripper pole on it. Like fucking no.
No, he couldn't.
I only noticed that rewatching it today. I was like, "There's a fucking stripper pole on his plane." I have a question to you, James. So in Iron Man 1, SHIELD isn't called SHIELD, correct?
Yeah, it is.
It's not the acronym yet. It's the strategic blah, 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 and they're like, "Oh, that's a mouthful." Coulson's like, "We're working on it."
Oh yeah.
And then it's at the end we're like, "Just call it SHIELD." Correct?
Yeah.
That's what he says. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, they just released a Captain Marvel trailer the other day, and it's in the 90s. They say SHIELD.
Oh.
Just saying.
Fuck's sake, Marvel!
Yeah, I know.
They've ruined it. No, I'm not watching it now.
Yeah, I know.
Not watching another Marvel movie. Fuck them.
Yeah, fucking idiots.
The first straw was the fucking Homecoming at the beginning with the fucking 8 years later bullshit. Now they've ruined it.
Oh,
they've
yeah.
fully fucked it. They've ruined everything.
Oh, that still confuses me.
Maybe there's time travel, though. Maybe in
travel?
Endgame, Tony travels back to the 90s and says, "Oh, you better call it SHIELD, Fury." But then he also tells Coulson, he's like, "Coulson, you better pretend you don't know it's called SHIELD, though." In 2008 specifically.
Or do you think Coulson was just fucking with them? It's called SHIELD the whole time, and Coulson's just
so.
like...
I think that makes sense. I think Coulson,
That's what we're gonna
he's that
headcanon
kind of like
that.
smart sort of character, where like I feel like he probably was, yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, right, I like him now. I'll let him in on it's called SHIELD at the end."
Yeah, I think
We'll headcanon that.
Yeah, I think that makes sense to me, anyways.
Yeah, we'll pretend that's what it was. It was a joke the whole time because Coulson's the funniest SHIELD agent yet.
He's just having some banter with everyone. He's like, we won't tell him it's called SHIELD. Watch him try and say the whole fucking thing.
Yeah, that's funny.
Fuck
that's
idiots. Classic Coulson.
Fuck. Billy, the Team Tynamite captain, Robertson, he's left a few comments. Let's see what he's read. What are you guys' first reaction to the post-credit scene? Oh, interesting, we hadn't talked about that yet. I remember after the cinema not believing the thought of a different movies connecting like a comic world, or a comic would. It was unbelievable and would never thought we would have movies like Infinity War ever. To me, it's one of the greatest end credit scene to a movie ever. I guess to what it represents in the long run, yeah. The line, "I'm here to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative," and cutting it to black gives me goosebumps every time.
Yeah, you know what? I don't think I thought anything of it, to be honest, the first time. Because Marvel movies for a while had post-credit scenes. Like, especially the X-Men movies had post-credit scenes. So I was used to them, so I watched the post-credit scene. But I don't think the idea was ever... I don't think I watched that and ever thought, oh, they're going to do a Captain America, then a Thor, and then they're going to have an Avengers movie where all of the movies connect. I don't think I ever thought that was what they would do, to be honest.
You just think maybe they'd put the Avengers in like an Iron Man 2 or 3 or something.
Maybe, but I thought maybe it's just like an Easter egg, like a little, if you're a fan of the comics, you know the Avengers, but like they wouldn't necessarily do anything with it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess I never really thought of it before because it is a huge thing and they've been really successful with it. So I guess I don't know. I guess I just never really thought about it.
My thing is here, right? I have been on this MCU bandwagon since Iron Man 1. I loved Iron Man 1 so much when it came out. I'm more into it now than I ever was, but I was always like a follower of it. I was like, I love this, I'm into it, I'd always go see the new movies. Now I'm like, this is my favorite fucking thing in movies right now is the MCU. I fucking am obsessed. I like it more than Star Wars at the moment, you know. If you're like, oh, do you want to watch episode 9 right now or Endgame? I'm like, I would watch Endgame. It's not even close. Like how, you know what I mean? If someone, like right now you can watch episode 9 of Star Wars or Endgame. Is there even a hesitation for you that you're going to watch Endgame straight away?
No.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing was, as a kid, until the MCU, I wasn't a Marvel person. I've never liked X-Men. I liked the Spider-Man movies enough, but I was always a Batman kid. I liked Superman as a kid. I was more of a DC guy. I knew who the Justice League were. I didn't even know what the Avengers were. Like, that's how much of a non-Marvel fan I was. Like, I'm like, what the fuck is the Avengers? Like, I've never heard of them. And Harlan, my brother, he goes, oh, I remember him telling me, he's like, I remember when the Avengers movie got announced, like they were making it, he goes, oh, because I'd seen Thor, and I hadn't seen Captain America 1 yet. I'd seen Iron Man 1 and 2. And I didn't think they'd connected. Like, I didn't actually know that Thor was connected to Iron Man. Like, I knew they were Marvel.
No, I had no idea. But I had no idea until recently, like relatively recently, that all of these Marvel movies that have been coming out that were super popular were connected. I had no fucking clue.
That's so fucking weird, dude.
Because I'd never watched them.
Retarded?
I watched Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2. I watched... that was it, actually.
So what you're saying is, whilst over the years of doing podcasts together, there was a period you didn't even know this.
Yeah, because you told me about it.
I told you about it?
It was on a podcast. I remember it was on a podcast because I think we were talking about Marvel movies. I specifically remember a conversation where you said something about the MCU, and I'm like, what the fuck is the MCU? And then you explained it, and I'm like, oh yeah, of course, because they did like the Avengers and stuff. And then I realized, and then I watched all of them.
Oh, I fucking hate you, dude.
I just, for some reason, I'd never seen them. I'd never seen Avengers either. I'd seen Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2.
I saved your life. Like, you didn't know what Kingdom Hearts was before me.
Yeah, that's weird.
You didn't know what MCU was.
How did I not know what the MCU was? I can't imagine what that was like, but I remember I didn't know that all these movies were connected. Like, because I remember I'd seen, like, the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and they came out around the same time as, like, I don't know, like, Age of Ultron and stuff like that, and so I didn't know all of, like, I didn't know which were connected where, like what because I didn't know there was such a thing as the MCU. I didn't realize there was like a title for it, for all of these like connected movies. I genuinely had no idea, which is really weird to think about. I mean, I had some idea, but not properly, because I remember watching Iron Man 2 in the cinema. I remember the post-credit scene for that with the Thor's hammer and everything, and I remember that was sort of the moment where I was like, oh, okay, they're gonna do a Thor thing in this. Who the fuck is Thor?
Yeah, I just remember it was a big deal in Australia, Thor, because it was Chris Hemsworth playing it. Oh yeah, and it was this big break in Hollywood sort of thing. So I remember, like, in the build up to Thor, like, there was lots of news about him. So I remember got excited to see this. I'm like, I didn't know who Thor was. But then I remember I hadn't seen Captain America until after I saw the Avengers.
That's really weird.
Yeah, so I went and saw the Avengers at cinemas, and I was excited because I love Iron Man, and I loved the first Thor movie. I still like it a lot now, but, like, the movies are so much better now than they were then. So it's like, I don't really think about Thor anymore. Whereas at the time there was 3 movies I'd seen, Iron Man 1, 2, and then Thor. But when the trailer was out and, like, it kept building towards it, I'm like, what the hell's the Avengers? Oh no, my brother told me, they're making an Avengers movie. I'm like, what's the Avengers? He's like, oh, it's Marvel's Justice League. And I'm like, oh, because I fucking grew up with DC. Like, I knew who the Justice League were. Mm-hmm. So that's how it had to be explained to me. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of lame. The Avengers, what a lame name. I remember thinking this. I'm like, I was like, what a shitty version of this. So I said, oh, what? So it's like a kind of shit version of the Justice League. I'm like, who's in the Avengers? Well, Iron Man. I'm like, well, Iron Man's cool. Thor's cool. And Captain America, I'm like, oh, cookie cutter, like, idiot in that stupid uniform. Okay. And then Hulk, I'm like, oh, whatever. I really liked Hulk as a kid, actually. I really, really liked Hulk as a kid. But, like,
I never did. I've never been into Hulk. The first time I was ever into Hulk was Thor Ragnarok, where I'm like, oh, he's actually interesting.
Okay. You didn't like him like the Avengers movies?
He's fine. Like, he smashes things. He's fine. Like, cool, that's cool CGI, I guess. But, like, it's not that interesting.
He's great in Ragnarok. That's his best. Yeah, that's the best Hulk movie of all time. Is Thor Ragnarok. That's the best Hulk movie of all time.
And he says funny things, and I'm like, oh, he's fun. I like him.
Yeah, a bit of a laugh, bit of banter with Hulk.
And then he's a little bitch in Infinity War, but...
Yeah, that's true. No, I always loved from the Eric Bana movie. I
Really?
loved the Hulk from that point. Yeah, I loved that movie as a kid. I'm sure I haven't seen it in forever, and I'm sure it doesn't hold up. But I loved it at the time.
No. Oh god, I was scared that was going to be another Hook moment. Then, like, oh yeah, go watch the Everybody Hook movie.
Yeah, but hey, we've been through this. I haven't seen Hook in like 10 years.
Nah, but you defended that far too well for someone that hasn't seen it.
I did defend it far too well. Yeah, I know I did. I just wanted it to hold up so bad.
Oh, it doesn't. I'm sorry.
And it became a fucking meme. Yeah, but what were we talking about?
Hulk?
Oh yeah, the Avengers. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Avengers,
then because I remember I went and saw the Avengers movie, and I was sitting there watching. I'm like, Iron Man was is there right at the start. And I was like, couldn't wait for Thor to show up. I was like, waiting for Thor, and I just kept thinking, fuck Captain America. What a bitch character. Like that's what I was thinking. Captain America I love so much I can't even describe it. Like he's so far and away my favorite character in Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
But like it's so weird to think back when I first saw the first Avenger movie, I thought he was such a bitch cookie cutter character. Like, oh, what a bitch. Like,
That's so weird.
Yeah. And I hate it, but I hate his uniform in the first Avengers movie. It's the worst.
Oh yeah, it's terrible. It looks
so
fucking
bad.
horrific.
Yeah, such a cookie cutter uniform, and that's why I hate him. And I'm like, you've got Tony battling like 10 people, and there's Cap fighting one guy. And I'm like, oh yeah, you got to take on one guy. You have a shield. Oh, that's cool, bro. Oh my god, this is like what a bitch character.
Why
and then and then I remember going to the Winter Soldier came out, and like I went with Harlan and my mate Corey, and I'm thinking, oh it's the MCU, so I'm gonna see it, but I didn't have high expectations for it. And then from the opening scene, I'm like, Captain America's fucking the man. And then after the movie, I'm like, that was the best Marvel movie. That was by far the best Marvel movie. And still this day, top 2 for me is like very close to Winter Soldier and Cap 3. Cap 2 and 3 are the best ones. Like, so it's crazy to think how that changed.
You know what? I find it strange talking about Captain America's uniform. Why does it look so bad in Avengers? Because the one in the first movie
is great.
The first Avenger looks good, yeah. So why did they decide to pick this horrible looking? Because
they literally picked the uniform that he would tour with, not even the combat uniform. Because they just wanted it to be as a symbolic uniform. Yeah, they went with it was like the retro style uniform.
Yeah, I don't know who made that.
Like
decision,
the 60s one.
Wrong decision.
Yeah. Well, they got rid of Joss Whedon, so don't worry about it. Yeah.
Yeah, he went and finished Justice League for Zack Snyder.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, stupid. Anyway,
but
the post-credit scene,
post-credit
scene is
it's a very good scene.
Great.
I love it now. Like Billy said,
you introduced Nick Fury.
It's always like going back and before Infinity War came out, rewatching all the MCU movies. That post-credit scene from Iron Man 1 is really impactful now, knowing what comes after. Like just seeing Nick Fury and when he says about the Avengers Initiative. Yeah, it gives me goosebumps too, looking back on it. But obviously, the first time I watched it, I didn't really think anything. I'm like, oh yeah, cool. I don't know what any of that means. Who's this guy?
Yeah.
But
in
hindsight, it's really cool.
Yeah. And Billy had another question, but we already have talked about this. He just was like, our thoughts on Terrence Howard's portrayal of Rhodey compared to Don Cheadle. Which do you prefer? Also, the War Machine Easter egg at the end where he says, next time, baby, is hilarious to me. When the next time we see him, it's not even him. That's true. Yeah, that is funny. That's funny. Stupid Terrence Howard, the fucking idiot.
Pythagoras is going to lose his mind.
Cassandra's dad. Classic.
He's losing his mind over Terrence Howard.
Yeah, couldn't believe it. Believe it. The stuff of Hermes. Wasn't enough for him. Okay, the final comment topic is from Dualcom. So this will be good. Sure, for people that this will be most people won't understand this because this is to the public and they don't realize what we deal with at Clubhouse for the insane essay-long topics from Dualcom every week. We love him. He's the best, but also the worst. So from our good buddy up our Dualcom, what's your guys' thoughts on Billy feeling up this comment section? Fuck off, Dualcom. Okay, legit question. Please don't stop reading. Hang on. Obadiah stains intent and villainy. I forgot his name and called him Howard Stark. Good thing I reread this. Okay, so he edited it.
Okay.
Wow, he thought he was Howard Stark. Fucking embarrassing.
Howard Stark.
Why does he go from greedy, jealous businessman to psychopath, or is he a psychopath all along? I can't spell psychopath.
He's a psychopath.
He's making...
all along.
Yeah, I'd say so too. He's making black market deals with 10 rings, knowing that their terrorism is killing people. People would say he's happy to kill others. So yeah, that kind of tells you he's been a psychopath the whole time. He planned Tony's death. He's
a nutcase.
He's a fucking lunatic. But he's he's smart as well. He's a businessman, so he knows how to control the emotions. But I think that's a result of dehumanizing through his way of life. He can't actually kill the terrorist leader, just paralyzing him. And when he orders the other people to be killed outside the tent in the same scene, he gets in the car after the murder. I don't think he could bear to actually kill Tony, which is why he ordered the rings to do it. He'd feel guilty doing it on a personal basis, knowing that someone else is going to make him disappear without the guilt of murder. Well, it's the same way. Well, his whole character is about no accountability. That's the whole part of the whole weapons manufacturing. And Tony says, he's like, I realized that what we do is a system that is fine with zero accountability. Well, that's what warmongers are. That's what war profiteering is, and that's who Obadiah is. So it's interesting you bring that up, actually, Julcom, that Obadiah, in every way as a character, doesn't hold himself accountable to anything he's even directly involved in. Not even just the selling of weapons, but also when he's ordering people to die, he's never there to deal with it. He's always getting other people to do it because he doesn't ever hold himself accountable to anything. That's a big part of his villainy, which is why the whole ending of him being in the suit doesn't really make sense to his villain character at all, and is probably the corniest part of the movie. That whole battle doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
If the terrorist guy was in the suit, it would make sense.
That'd be funnier.
It would be funnier. But it would make more sense to the story. And Obadiah not being there, but telling him, like maybe talking to him on the mic in the suit. That would make sense.
Yeah, potentially. But I suppose you had to wipe him out because...
But you can have him arrested. You know what I mean? He doesn't...
What is this, Watch Dogs 2? What the fuck?
What are you talking about?
You get the guy arrested in Watch Dogs 2 at the end of it. You don't kill the villain, you get him arrested.
Okay. Yeah, but what's that to do with anything?
My point was...
Yeah, what the fuck is your point?
My point is, why would you want to do that? That seems really unsatisfactory.
Yeah, but
to
whatever,
have the villain
bro.
Arrested.
You don't just kill everybody, dude. What are you, Obadiah?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. You kill everyone.
You got me. You got me.
Yeah, exactly.
End of Avengers, you don't kill Loki.
Yeah, you do.
Spoilers.
You kill everyone.
No, you don't. Yeah, you do. I don't think... Yeah, okay, so what else? In the final act where he takes Tony's arc reactor, it doesn't seem right. Like, Stain wouldn't be able to actually do it. Yeah, I agree. I think you're right. That's a great point. It would make more sense if he hired a hitman to take the reactor and wanted...
That'd be funny. Just hire a hitman to shoot him in the head. Don't hire a hitman to take out his arc reactor and let him, like, die on the floor.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Yeah,
that's so odd. I think, but isn't that why he takes out the arc reactor? Because he can't bring himself to just kill Tony. So he takes out the arc reactor, takes it, and then he's like, well, Tony's going to die, but at least, I just took the arc reactor. I didn't actually kill him. Like, I did.
Yeah.
But, like, I didn't, strangle him or anything.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I guess what's Julcom's end point? It would make more sense if he hired an hitman and wanted to make the Ironmonger suit for money and to be America's great savior who protected the country with the suits, which is kind of what they do with a different weapons manufacturer I'm into, which is just the same character but shitter. But obviously Tony, which you spelt wrong, wouldn't want the suits in Stain's greedy hands or the hands of the government. So when Tony spelled it wrong again, would eventually kill Stain. Stain goes evil due to the power of the suit. When in the suit, he just get filled with power and goes mad, making him evil, and I thought it made more sense.
Thing is, right.
You had a great point analysing the villain of Obadiah here, Julcom, and you kind of fucked up at the end here. You kind of fucked it up right there.
Julcom, we've spoken to Julcom. He's a perfectly literate guy. Why are his comments so fucked?
I don't.
What is this? It's like they've gotten worse. What's happening to your comic? Okay.
I don't know. It's like he gets drunk and then writes the topics. It is funny.
God.
It is funny. That's great.
Yeah, I don't agree with what he said there, to be honest. I don't think he suddenly turned evil because of the suit. Or whatever it was. I think he was always
I think
a horribly evil person, to be honest.
Yeah, but I think it was a great analysis of Obadiah.
Was it?
Throughout it, though. Yeah, because, I mean, him just pointing out of the fact of, the whole, zero accountability, all that sort of stuff, like, I think it was interesting. Like, it made me think of that. So, thank you for making me think of something smarter to say than you were saying.
Thanks for your comments, Jorcom. Thanks for your comments, everybody. You've all done us a great service.
Yeah. So, that unless you've got something else you want to say about Iron Man, James, that about wraps up the pilot episode, first ever episode of the Cinema Room podcast.
Amazing.
There it is.
That's fantastic.
Went longer than I expected. This was a good time. Iron Man was a great choice to start this off, I think.
I think so as well.
So we will keep doing these. We're going to go through the whole MCU kind of as we go, but at the same time, we're going to have polls for future episodes voted on, as well as when new things come out, we'll be doing episodes for that. So when Captain Marvel's out, that next Cinema Room episode will be on Captain Marvel. Same with Avengers, Endgame, Star Wars, any big movies that come out.
Whatever we decide.
Game of Thrones Season 8, I'm sure Stranger Things 3, I'm sure we'll do on, and video games as well. So it'll be a show that goes with the current news of new movies, new shows, new games, whilst also when we don't have anything new, we'll just go through either the MCU, kind of what we're into, or other movies that are voted on by the people over on patreon.com/as always. Speaking of patreon.com/as always, James, do you want to read us the list?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, we've got a few of you sweet vintage lads here to thank for supporting us. On As Always, we have got King Richard III, Ballsack47, Josh Devillier, Damian, Bill the Team Tynamite Captain Robertson, Tman or Travis, Casey Wood, Tony the Arbiter's Tasty Penis, Adam Sundling, Alfie Rowsell, Lumistrad, Mary5380, Viridian, ArunWyn, Brendan or BQ Overlord, Ravjai, Julie, Prudhvi Muvva, Oscar, Benedict Parker Returns, Connor Durose Bully in the Alley, Gene, Son of a Bitch Ogeaidogo, God Dammit Glenn, Furious Coco, the ACMJS, Jace, The Last Medici, Delta R. Rodriguez, Kyle, S. Jaws, Kyle Marvel, Marcus Blackburn, Emil Katborg, Joshua Mora, David Bindis, Beau Daman, Lamp, Christ,
He still gets me every
Yazen, Joe the Sexy Boi Smith, H-Bus12, I got Lumbago, Seth says lasers can soak my ass, The Real Jorrator, Brian Ford, Big Man Assassin, Andreu Martinez, and Pink Flame 313. Thank you all so much. That list was so strange to read because my brain kept going to read what should logically come next. That's going to take some getting used to.
Yeah, that's right. New year, new us, yeah?
Yeah, new as always. Thanks everyone so much for your continued support on patreon.com/as always. We appreciate it. It's great.
And as always, James, I appreciate you being here with me and talking about movies and Iron Man.
I like to be here as always.
In the first of many episodes in a long history of the Cinema Room podcast. So I'm excited.
You can only imagine it's going to get better and better to the point
I can only imagine because it hasn't happened yet. So I only actually can imagine it.
Yeah, you can't.
Because it hasn't happened.
That's all you can do. But trust me when I say it will happen.
Yeah.
I'm confident in that one.
Alrighty.
So stay tuned, lads and ladettes, for more Cinema Room in 2 weeks' time. Whether you're watching on Patreon or YouTube, you'll see a new one in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah. Unless you're watching right now on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, and you're thinking, I can't wait 2 weeks. Can I listen to a new episode next week? You can. Over on patreon.com/as always, where next week, the next episode of the Cinema Room podcast will be released.
Crazy
where
stuff.
we'll be talking about what we'll be talking about, what we'll be doing, what's next.
Shit, I don't know what comes next in the MCU. I don't fucking know.
It's Iron Man 2 comes next.
Is it?
Yeah.
Maybe do that then.
I don't want it. Yeah.
Do you want to do that one? I don't know.
I don't know.
Let us know in the
I feel
comments
like
of this podcast.
I feel like we just did Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I'd rather do like
Maybe we'll
Thor
jump
1
around.
or Captain America 1.
Yeah, we could do Thor and then like do Iron Man 2 and then do Captain America and then Avengers or something like that. In
Can
that
we do
order.
Thor, then Captain America, then Iron Man 2?
I mean, I guess we could. I kind of want to get
Yeah.
Iron Man 2 done, to be honest. I'm not. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
I mean, no, I don't. I mean, I'm gonna
why
love
don't-
it.
How
I'm gonna
about
really
we
enjoy
don't
it.
even do Iron Man 2?
I mean,
No, we have to do it. Okay. We'll do Thor next, but then we'll do Iron Man 2. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We do it.
we'll think about it. All right. Thanks everyone for
And
joining
just
us.
and we'd love to hear you as well. Your guys' feedback. So leave comments.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Just feedback of what you think of the show, the structure, any advice on what you think we could do to improve it, and we'll just kind of keep developing and working on it. Because we're a new show on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, give us ratings, give us a 5-star review on iTunes, leave a review. That'll be really, really
follow
appreciated
us
to
and all
help
that.
grow,
You can do that,
grow
right?
the show. Yeah, and subscribe to us on iTunes, follow us on Spotify, and follow us on SoundCloud, and leave likes on all of that, please. Thank you.
Yeah, 5-star
all so
rating.
much for listening.
Tell us that we're doing a good job, even if we're not doing a good job. We'd appreciate it.
Yeah, but also constructive
that.
criticism is helpful, James. You know, we want to get better. But yeah,
Yeah, do we? Maybe.
maybe. All right. Well, we
It's up
love
to
you all, and appreciate you for listening. And we'll see you for Kill Connor Club, Kill Connor Clubhouse, and more Cinema Room very soon in the future. So thank you for listening. Bye, lads and ladettes.
Goodbye, gamers. We're not making that a thing.
No, we're not saying goodbye, gamers, especially because this is a movie podcast. But yeah, okay.
Goodbye, movie viewers.
Goodbye, cinema rumors.
We're so fucking gay. All right, see
we
you
are
later, boys.
simply so gay. But yeah. A couple like buddy boys, you know. See you
Oh,
later, buddy
Jesus
boys.
Christ.
Yeah, okay.
Goodbye.
Sorry, we'll just